bad news that really could impact the future of Xbox, and I think this is going to have a lot of negative things going on for Xbox, to be honest with you. So yeah, Microsoft has been doing a lot of things that have been, kind of so iffy, whatever. Obviously, giving up exclusive games in order to get Activision comes down to me as a huge problem, right? Like, let's just be real, that was probably the dumbest move they could have ever made, and for me anyway, it's kind of chased me off as an Xbox fan, and just in general, it's weird seeing how these things are kind of happening and how Xbox is kind of doing things that aren't exactly fan friendly, but maybe they'll change things up before too long, who knows. But for me anyway, I look at this and I think, man, this could go bad. This could go very bad, and I'm hoping that it doesn't, but I just have a feeling with all the rumors and stuff that we've heard lately that things probably aren't going to go exactly swimmingly. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So everybody's been kind of talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and how it's kind of underperformed and stuff like that, and then you had the detractors. You had people kind of saying, oh well, no, it's still so good because it's the number one game on PlayStation, or it's the number one game on Xbox, or whatever. The problem is that's not really saying much, right? So that's kind of where we're at right now. Now we have an idea of actually how it tanks. So for the past couple decades, Call of Duty titles have almost always been the US's top-selling games of the year, but it looks like Black Ops 7 has experienced a marked decline in sales from its predecessor, Black Ops 6. According to Game Industry Biz, Analytics data indicates that Black Ops 7 sold 401,000 copies on Steam in the first 26 days after launch. By comparison, Black Ops 6 sold 2.3 million copies. So, basically sold 1.9 million more copies on Steam in the first month than it did this time with the newer game. So, Call of Duty games have historically sold fewer copies on Steam than on console, and Black Ops 6 and 7 were both included on PC Game Pass, but that doesn't account for why the latter had such a dramatic decline. Video Game Insights also shared data that suggests Black Ops 7 daily active users dropped to 18 million in November of 2025, down from 36 million in December of 2024. Going back to Modern Warfare in 2022, concurrent users on Steam had been pretty steady decline from 500,000 in early 2023 before briefly rebounding to over 300,000 for Black Ops 6. Currently, Black Ops 7 is estimated to have a current concurrent count between 500,000 on Steam. The data points to fundamental engagement challenge for Black Ops 7, reads a statement from Video Game Insights. Whether the cause lies in franchise fatigue, shift in genre preferences, competition from other titles, or misalignment in player expectations, the early indicators are clear. This is not a normal launch cycle fluctuation. It is significant departure from historical performance. Earlier this week, Activision itself acknowledged that Black Ops 7 fell short of the mark as the publisher set for itself, and that was soon followed by an announcement from Microsoft that Call of Duty was 2025's top franchise on Game Pass. But again, it's Call of Duty. I don't think there was ever some huge game on Game Pass that was going to take that crown. That's not really saying much. That's the thing with Microsoft. They do word salad. They talk a lot, but they don't really say a lot. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit unfortunate kind of situation, when we kind of look at how things are kind of being handled and things like that. It is strange to me, but again, we'll see how this kind of all leads out. It doesn't look good to me anyway. Microsoft and Activision haven't shared their plans for Call of Duty 2026. The one thing we do know from Activision's recent dispatch is there won't be any more Modern Warfare or Black Ops sequels dropping in consecutive years. So yeah, that's pretty crazy to think about as well. Activision, like I said, announced that they will no longer do back-to-back releases of Modern Warfare or Black Ops games, which they should have never done that in the first place. The game was poorly received by reviewers and players with a Metacritic score of 66, and third-party tracking data from multiple sources suggest the game attracted far fewer players than previous releases in the series. Yeah, that's such a telling number though, right? Only sold 401,000 400,000 compared to 2.3 million previously. Like, Microsoft must be shitting bricks. Like, I'm not trying to sound, like a jerk or anything, but man, they really got to be pretty upset about this stuff, right? For me, I just think that it's kind of crazy that, this is kind of the way that this is happening, and, Microsoft is kind of handling things in a way that's, I don't know, if they're not really, like, it's very corporate, I think, is the problem, right? Like, Microsoft is clearly very corporate, and now they have these, like, enormous numbers that you have to hit, and, I don't think that's going to be the case. Like, when you're just focusing on that, how can you focus on fun or trying to deliver what people actually want, right? Like, that's, I think, probably the big issue right there is you have to be able to deliver what the fans want, and you have to, and it was funny because I commented on X, right? Like, Microsoft or Xbox, whatever, made a comment and was like, congratulations to all the winners on the Game Awards, blah, blah, blah. Great, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and I responded, I was like, man, you guys could really take a note out of that playbook, because a lot of Xbox games, Microsoft just throws money at them. Hey, let's just throw more money at it. Look at Halo Infinite, right? That game, they just, threw hundreds of millions of dollars at that game, and it was, in retrospect, kind of crappy. Like the campaign was, you could tell, was extremely cut. The multiplayer didn't have any content. It's like throwing money and stuff doesn't matter if the game's not going to have like a soul, and if they didn't do a good job kind of putting that stuff together. I don't know. For me, it just feels like a lot of Xbox games lack that soul and really kind of lack that thing that kind of pushes it over the edge, and that's something that you find a lot of times. And I'm not kind of nut hugging on PlayStation or Nintendo, but you kind of find that soul on like Nintendo and PlayStation games. And so, it is kind of strange to see how Microsoft is reacting to this, and they probably got like, they're probably really freaking out a little bit. But again, it's really kind of on them, right? They bought into the Activision thinking Call of Duty was infallible, and that that was the thing that killed exclusives. And now it's like, was it worth it? Because you don't have all those active users or any of that stuff. So it's kind of crazy to me how Microsoft has kind of bet on the wrong horse yet again. And it's really a sad state of affairs. If you're an Xbox fan, it's like we're looking at how Microsoft is handling things. It's like there's no exclusives, which means there's no reason to even get their game system anymore. And and you look at like the stuff that they're doing, and it's just kind of crazy, the way that they're kind of handling their own games or whatever. It's like, hey, let's put everything on PlayStation and even the Switch too, right? Because that's kind of crazy to me that this is kind of happening the way that it is. But again, how do you guys feel about this stuff? How do you guys think about like Call of Duty? Now we know that the players have kind of halved from year over year. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like things are doing too great in terms of the actual players and things like that. So, I think that's probably a bit of bad news for, Microsoft, which again, you might go, well, how would this affect Xbox? Because if Call of Duty isn't hitting their marks, then what is, right? And how are they going to supplement that, right? They were probably counting on Call of Duty making all this money to offset the money that they lose elsewhere. And so without that money, I think, yeah, they're really in kind of a rough spot. But, again, Microsoft is weird, and they continue to kind of be weird, in my opinion. So I hope that they get their act together, because this is super strange what's going on, man, seeing Call of Duty kind of doing all this kind of stuff. But anyway, Black Ops 7 issues contribute to its underperformance. For years, Call of Duty was virtually immune to competition, but now the player base is splitting and annoyed. The franchise is creatively drained, and rivals have been more methodical and focused, setting record launches in the process. Xbox will need to shift its strategy. The one-year cycle no longer works. It's time for a once every 2 years Call of Duty with Warzone and seasonal content in between, or something else altogether, because, you know, again, you've got to have something there. But I think people really just looked at Black Ops 7 like maybe that could have just been a DLC or expansion or something. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I'll link it. It definitely seems like it could be definitely bad news for Xbox.